It's 6:30, so I am going to open the meeting of the Rent Control Board for the proposed rent increase for Hillcrest Manufactured Home Park for fiscal year June 30th, 2020 to July 1st, 2021. Do I have a second to open the meeting?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Kim.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to deflect to Mr. Clifford to kind of guide us through what is pretty much expected of moving forward, what this meeting, which is a continuation of the one that we had on January 26th, where we decided to table the decision for further information moving forward on the increase. So if you're there, Mr. Clifford, welcome.
Hey, I am, Madam Chair. Thank you. Just to offer some general background before we get into the gist of tonight's hearing. The town of Rockland adopted rent control in 2006. What followed was several years of litigation, including litigation over proposed double-digit increases in rent that were proposed by the park owners. As a compromise, the Rent Control Board adopted rules and regulations that allowed the park owners to seek increases that were based on the Federal Department of Labor Consumer Price Index. That actually resulted in increases that have been right around 1 or 2% a year for the past 10 years. That compromise also included clarifying that the Rent Control Board is not where a resident goes with individual complaints about repairs, about service from the park owner. It's not where residents come when there are holes in the fence. It's not where residents go when there's 1 or 2 potholes. The town and the Rent Control Board has intervened in very serious life-threatening situations. I'm going to say the most recent was in 2015 when we had a really awful winter and there was really significant plowing issues at Hillcrest that could have threatened the health and safety of residents. But generally, the Rent Control Board has no legal authority to intervene in tenant-landlord disputes. And we've gotten through a lot of litigation over that. What we've tried to point out is that tenants have somewhere to go if they have a complaint. They can go to land court, where judges in land court actually have broad legal authority to deal with the kind of issues that people have complaints about. They can also go to our Board of Health for specific health-related issues. But the Rent Control Board basically is supposed to vote up or down on proposed rent increases. And we have pretty narrow restrictions on why the Rent Control Board could actually deny such an increase. And those reasons are listed pretty clearly in the rules and regulations. I think what happened last week were there were a number of issues raised. I think in the opinion of most of the board, it seemed as though while Attorney Laverty was there wasn't anybody here from the park who could actually answer some of the questions. So I suggested continuing the hearing for 2 weeks to give the park owner the opportunity to explain or address some of the questions. I want to make it very clear, and this has come up constantly over the years, and I will say the chair, Judy Hartigan, and I have been with rent control pretty much from the beginning. The fact that a rent increase is a financial burden on residents is not legally a consideration that we can make as members of the Rent Control Board. So we're not unsympathetic to it, but the law does not allow us to consider that. We don't doubt that it's a hardship on a lot of people, but that's not really something that the Rent Control Board can consider. So That's just to put all this in a little bit of context. It may not be the answer that some residents want to hear, but what we try to encourage people is to go take these complaints to a forum where they legally can do something about that. In a lot of cases, that is not the Rockland Rent Control Board. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving forward with the meeting, is there in attendance anyone representing the park owners tonight?
Madam Chairman, Mark Laverty, I'm the attorney for Hillcrest. I can't quite hear you, but I do have two representatives from Hillcrest. I have one of the regional managers, Jennifer Pincenalt, who can provide testimony and address any of the concerns that the Rent Control Board has.
Okay.
Judy, you're coming across as really faint, really hard to hear.
How about now?
Better, much better.
Okay. I apologize for that. These headsets are not state of the art, so I've had trouble with them before. Okay, I guess what I'd like to do is, first of all, we heard testimony from residents, and given the information that Mr. Laverty, Attorney Laverty, has forwarded to us prior to the meeting, there is, I guess, some recommendations, some steps that have been taken that the management, I'm assuming, would like to address as far as some of the things that they had worked on. Most recently, I did get information from our health agent. She did tour the park, and I do have Mr. Attorney Larry had given us the residents' complaints update at Hillcrest, where the problems are noted, and with Delshon Flip, who is our health agent, truly noting each one of the problems and address or trying to suitably address them. So I guess moving forward, I would like to give you the opportunity to kind of address the board in fashion as to where Hillcrest management and the park owners are moving in the direction of the issues at hand. Anyone?
Madam Chairman,
I apologize.
Madam Chairman, Mark
Sorry.
Laverty, I'll call the Hillcrest first witness, Jennifer Pincenalt, who can go through and indicate where Hillcrest is going, what they've done, what they intend to do.
Thank you.
Ms. Pincenalt, are you on?
I am. Are you able to hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you.
So you were at the last rent control meeting, and you heard that the rent control board had some concerns. And I think what we'll do tonight is go through a number of the issues that hopefully we can address the needs of the rent control board. The first concern they had 2 weeks ago was the availability of an on-site property manager at Hillcrest. And some of the concerns or difficulties that the residents were having in contacting the on-site property manager. Could you briefly describe what Hillcrest intends to do moving forward?
Yes, we actually have been on the site multiple days in the last couple of weeks, of course. We have a general manager that will be starting on Monday, replacing Albert. Currently, I'm available, as well as our district manager, Jonathan Tatro. The information with regards to who to contact in the meantime has been emailed to the residents. this past week, and is posted on the office door as well. Currently, given the COVID situation, all of our MH offices are open by appointment only, but we do have the ability to meet with residents if they would like to do that as well.
Now, you heard some testimony last week from a number of residents about multiple complaints that needed to be addressed by the Board of Health, and that they felt that they weren't being addressed. Have you been in any discussions with the local Board of Health?
Yes, I did speak with Delshon after the hearing last week, just to triple check with her that there isn't any concern, because I have been working so closely with her. She's very happy with the progress that we're making. We are in constant communication with her, so there are no concerns. There is a list of items. We've started with anything that was more critical to address from her perspective, which we've already done, and we worked through anything else that was just mentioned, and we'll investigate those as we go forward.
And at some point, did you send a letter in writing to the health agent for the town of Rockland?
I did. So Delshon did provide me a list that was provided to her of some possible issues within the park. So we did address those individually in a formal letter to her.
And was that letter dated December 2nd of 2020?
I'm going to take your word for it. I don't have it in front of me, Mark, but it sounds about right.
Okay. I do have the letter in front of me. And Madam Chairman, that's one of the documents that I sent to the board earlier today. And I would ask that that be marked as one of the exhibits for Hillcrest along with their petition. And that's the letter dated December 2nd, 2020.
Yep, I have that in my possession, and I actually sent the same letter to the board prior to, so we have double copies of the letter to Delshon addressing the issues. The one in particular that was the one thing that I wanted to just do a follow up real quickly was the dumpster issue and the availability of the residents to have access to the dumpster.
Yes, absolutely.
So that has been remedied, and that there's full access to the dumpster for residents for trash removal.
So, Ms. Pincinel, can you explain to the board how weekly trash pickup works at Hillcrest, and also talk about the on-site dumpster that's at the property?
Yeah. So actually the routine trash pickup at the park is curbside. So that's the daily, weekly trash pickup, that for routine daily trash. The dumpster that was being mentioned is a overflow, if you will. We did put a lock on it, but there is a sign on that door that says to contact us for access. There has to be some management of access, unfortunately, or else it becomes a dump all for anyone in town, or et cetera, furniture, mattresses, that kind of thing. It's for overflow household trash. And again, by contacting myself, or again, the phone number provided, we can make those arrangements. So that would be an extenuating circumstance, so something above and beyond the normal. And so we are very available to make that available to the residents if they have something above and beyond their normal trash. But I think what the board didn't understand last hearing was that this is not their normal household trash. That is curbside pickup at the park.
Okay. Do any of the board members have any further questions regarding, or I'm sorry, Mr. Laverty, are you satisfied that the testimony presented is complete, or would you like to share?
Well, we actually have a few more issues that we'd like to address with the board as well. So, Ms. Pincinel, you heard some testimony last week that the park roadways and the walkways were in deplorable condition. Did you have an opportunity to view the park recently and take some pictures?
I I did. The following Monday, after the hearing, I did tour the entire park and took pictures of each of the roadways, which are all fully intact. The only issue I found was one pothole. I apologize because I'm not going to be able to tell you which road it was on, but it was at the rear bottom of the park, somewhat near the trash overflow. We do have U.S. pavement. They were hired to do that repair. They were going to take care of that last week with the storm. It got pushed to tomorrow to make that repair.
And in the fall of 2020, did Hillcrest make any repairs to the roadways?
We did. So in the pictures provided, the patches that you see, those fresh patches were from late summer, early fall, when we had done a bunch of repair work on the roads.
So, Madam Chairman, I also submitted some pictures to the board as well, and I would ask that that be marked as exhibit number 2, along with the Hillcrest's petition and exhibit number 1.
Yep.
Now, Ms. Pincinel, there was some testimony last week about some odors from a sewer or septic system. Was that addressed at any time within the last year by Hillcrest?
Yes, we did rebuild the pump from the septic station. Again, it was early fall, so we had heard complaints over the summer about that, and we did rebuild the pump station there. We haven't heard a complaint since then.
Okay. Now, there was also some testimony about retaining walls in the community. Has Hillcrest taken any steps to remedy that situation?
We do. We currently have a contract with our vendor for retaining walls at 8, 9, 10, and 14 Alpine. Again, these repairs are weather permitting, and I will contact each of those residents to schedule that with them. We do have that under contract, and we're just waiting for the right weather to get those addressed.
Now, Ms. Pincinel, has Hillcrest ever been cited within the last 12 months by the Board of Health? Have you received any violations or citations from the Board of Health or any other agency?
No, not to my knowledge.
And are you aware of any pending matters, either in the housing court or the land court, related to any conditions or deterioration of the property at Hillcrest?
No.
Madam Chairman, I don't have any other questions for Ms. Pincinel. I would reserve the right to call her as a rebuttal witness, or if the board has any further questions, she's happy to address those.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any additional questions, comments, or things they would like to address and ask to kind of give you a more clarification on the situation? I think we need to understand too that what Attorney Clifford has guided us in saying is that we are the board, we are pretty limited in what we can and cannot do. What we have done repeatedly is kind of guide the residents to go to the direct routes of higher channels than the rent control board to address the issues that they have at hand. I'm happy to see that there is a definite connection with the health agent. I do have a complaint form that was issued in July of 2020 from Mr. Murphy at 12 Alpine, reporting the issuance of the street and full his house as well as the walkway. Again, everyone has a copy of this. We've lived here for 3.5 years, and the street and walkway are sinking in, and we're very dangerous and unsafe. I'm wondering if 12 Alpine might be on your list of that needs attention.
Thank you.
On July 27th, 2020.
We do have the walkways in total as an item to review. We've been talking with Elshawn about that in the springtime. So we will make sure that this one is looked at as well. I can definitely look at it sooner if there's a concern of a hazard, but we are going to be addressing the walkways as a whole as well.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else with any questions? Everyone's all set? Okay. Looking back at 2 weeks ago, and now that the information that we have presented in front of us, I would like to make a motion to approve.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, sorry to interrupt. My name is Brian O'Donnell. I'm an attorney with the Northeast Justice Center. I'm here on behalf of my client, Miss Casey Kidd, who's recusing herself from the board today. I had contacted attorney Clifford on an email chain, which I believe you were CC'd to afterwards, informing that my client would like to be heard today.
She is more than welcome to be heard. She's a member of the board.
All right. Thank you very much then. If I may begin then?
Absolutely.
So as I mentioned, my name is Brian O'Donnell. I'm an attorney from the Northeast Justice Center. I'm here on behalf of Miss Casey Kidd, who is recusing herself from the vote for this matter today, as she's here in her individual capacity as a resident of Hillcrest. She's here today to describe to the board her experiences and knowledge of the status of the Hillcrest community, as well as to provide photographic evidence of the reduction in services available at Hillcrest. In short, as a resident of Hillcrest, she will describe reduced services or equipment on a number of different fronts, including, but definitely not limited to, the removal of a playground, lack of access to trash services, in this case, the dumpster area, reduction in plowing, and a reduction of on-site or other timely service for a variety of other matters. Taken as a whole, these issues reveal a decrease in services within Hillcrest. Chapter 288, Section 6B4 of the town bylaws, in no uncertain terms, require that this board shall consider a decrease in services when adjudicating rent adjustments. The bylaws of Rockland are crystal clear on this matter, and no interpretation, formal or informal, of those bylaws may violate or otherwise contravene them. Furthermore, the rules and regulations of this board echo that requirement. Rules and regulations, section 1L, also mandates that the rent control board consider increases or decreases in space, services, equipment, etc. Accordingly, while the board, of course, has large discretion in how they consider it, the board must consider a reduction of services when deciding whether or not to grant a rent increase. Despite this reduction of services within the community, petitioner requests that this board approve an increase of the rent at Hillcrest. As such, on behalf of Ms. Kidd, I respectfully request that this board deny the petition. Alternatively, in the event that the board may consider approving the petition, Ms. Kidd respectfully requests that this board not provide a retroactive increase, as that would place an undue and unfair burden upon residents, and as the start date of this hearing was well after the 30-day period provided in Section 5B of the rules and regulations. While the delay is definitely understandable given the uncertain times we are living in, it is not reasonable to place the burdens of such a delay on residents who neither filed the petition nor are responsible for adjudicating it. With that said, Chair Hartigan, I'd like to begin asking questions of my client, Ms. Kidd, regarding these matters, if I have your permission.
May.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Kidd. Could you state your full name and address?
Casey Kidd, 31 Crestview Street, Rockland, Mass.
And is that in Hillcrest?
Yes, it is.
Why are you here today?
I am here to let the board know about the issues that we have in our mobile home community. And also about the petition for the increase.
When was the last time your rent was increased?
It was July 2019.
Now, regarding the community Hillcrest, have you been able to recently perform a walkthrough or anything of that nature?
Yes, I have.
When was that?
It was Friday, January 29th.
So, jumping into specifics now, earlier I distributed a collection of photographs, both to petitioner as well as the board through the town council, Attorney Clifford. I believe you also have access to those. So looking at Exhibit A, if you have that in front of you,
Yes, I do.
what is that a photo of?
It is a photo of the entrance to the dumpster area.
And when was that taken, if you know?
That was taken during the walkthrough on January 29th.
Would you say it's a fair and accurate depiction of the area?
Yes, it is.
And looking at that photograph, what, if any, problems are reflected in it?
Well, first and foremost, the roadway is covered in ice and the dumpster area is locked.
Let's start with the ice. How has the clearing of the area leading to the dumpster changed during your residency?
It has never been as bad as it is. As you can see in the photo, it is a complete sheet of ice. It's very dangerous to walk, never mind drive over that area at all.
All right. Let's take a look at Exhibit B now. Let me
Okay,
know when you have that in front of you, please.
I do.
All right. What is this a photo of?
That is a photo of the lock that is on the dumpster, the gate leading to it.
And when was this photo taken?
This was also taken during the walkthrough on January 29th.
Is it a fair and accurate depiction?
Yes, it is.
And what, if any, problem does it display?
Well, we don't have access. Previously, it was open to residents to go as they please, because a lot of people do work work during the normal business hours, and now it's locked, and we are only able to access it if management brings us and watches us dump our belongings.
Before we look at the next photographs, I just want to take a moment to talk about the playground. What can you tell me about the playground at Hillcrest?
The playground is no longer existent. They had removed that amenity from the park.
And when did that happen?
That happened fall of 2020.
Have they replaced the playground in any way?
No, they have not.
All right. Let's move to Exhibit C. Let me know when that
Okay.
is in front of you.
I have it here.
Thank you. What is this a photo of?
It is a trash receptacle for pet waste.
And when was this taken?
This was taken January 29th.
Is a fair and accurate depiction?
Yes, it is.
And what, if any, problems are shown here?
It's overflowing, to say the least, and there are also no refills in the top for bags in case a resident forgets one at home to pick up dog waste.
And how has the service of these pet stations changed during your residency?
Well, they don't get cleaned out anymore, so they're always overflowing. It's now constant trash inside.
Is that different than it used to be?
Yes, it was never like that before.
All right, let's move forward again. I'm going to refer to a collection of photographs this time, so let's look at them all first, then I'll ask you a few questions. So moving to Exhibit D, let me know when you have a chance to review that.
I've reviewed that.
Exhibit E,
That as well.
F,
Yes.
and finally Exhibit G.
Yes.
What are these photos of as a group?
As a group, there are photos of the snow that is in parking spaces in the community.
When were they taken?
January 29th during the walkthrough.
Are they each a fair and accurate depiction of the area?
Yes.
And what, if any, problems do these reflect?
The problem that it reflects is that these spots are not the residents' responsibility to remove the snow, and there was no snow removal in those areas.
So how is the service of the snow removal for the common area parking changed during your residency?
Before the visitor parking would be open, so they would plow it in case anyone needed to park up there, and now it is left unplowed.
Let's take a look at the next photograph, Exhibit H.
Yes, I have it in front of me.
What is this a photo of?
That is a photo of the icy roadway,
When was this photo taken?
also January 29th.
Is it a fair and accurate depiction of the area?
Yes.
Same question as the others. What, if any, problems are depicted in this photograph?
Oh, it's full of ice. It's clearly visible that it had not been de-iced with sand or gravel.
When did it ice over?
It was it was last Friday, actually the 29th, it was the morning of the walkthrough.
Has the ice ever been removed?
Yes, about 4 to 5 days later.
So when was that?
I would say Tuesday, to the best of my knowledge.
Outside of the ice covering the road, were there any other problems associated with this?
Yes, there was a water main break.
Did that also happen on Friday morning?
Yes.
Similar question, outside of covering the road with ice, were there any results of the water main break?
Yes, there was about 4 to 5 residents without the service of water in their homes.
When did they lose access to water?
Friday morning.
And when, if ever,
29th.
oh, excuse me, when, if ever, did they regain access to the water?
Some sooner than others, but to the best of my knowledge, it was around Tuesday, late Tuesday, Wednesday, around the same time that the roads had been being cleared.
How was the response to this water main break situation different to other emergent situations in the past?
Well, previously with other management, it was quite easy actually. Everyone, just about every resident would have his personal phone number. They could call with any issues and he would get back very promptly. Now, since about spring of 2020, now because they don't answer their phones, either because the voicemail is full or there is no answering service, we usually just reach out to each other, to fellow residents, to see if they have any way to better communicate with management.
All right. Let's break that apart a little bit, just one step at a time.
Sure.
So how do you make requests for services now?
Well, we're supposed to call, but usually we have to wait until we see someone, or like I said, if another resident has a phone number for someone within management, they usually will give it to them so they can call for the service.
So how is your techniques now different than before?
Before we would call them directly.
And when did that change happen?
Spring 2020.
So why do you make these requests differently now?
They don't answer. We have no choice.
Anything else you'd like to add, Ms. Kidd?
No, thank you.
That's all the questions I have for at the moment.
Madam Chair, I suggest the park owner be given an opportunity to respond.
And may I ask Ms. Kidd just a couple of questions before I have the property manager respond?
Yes, you may.
Ms. Kidd, you testified about a Lux dumpster and that people aren't able to have access after hours. Is that correct?
Yes.
Isn't it true that Hillcrest has weekly trash pickup each week during the day, curbside pickup?
It is Fridays.
Okay,
Yes.
so every Friday, Hillcrest has a third-party vendor that comes through the community and picks up all the curbside trash for residents, correct?
Yes, whatever is put out at the curb.
Okay. Now, you testified about some of the parking spots that weren't plowed. Isn't it possible that residents did move their cars in certain areas and the vendor couldn't get through there for the snow removal?
To the best of my knowledge, those parking spaces are unused and they should be able to access them.
But you're not certain, correct?
As a resident, I can only testify to what I see.
Okay. Now, at any point, have you filed a lawsuit against Hillcrest or brought any of your concerns to the housing court and filed any
No.
litigation?
No,
Are you aware of the fact that the Board of Health has never cited Hillcrest regarding any conditions for the community?
yes, I'm aware.
Madam Chairman, I have no further questions for Ms. Kidd, but I would like to call Ms. Pinsel as a rebuttal witness so she can clarify a number of these issues that Ms. Kidd testified to.
You have permission to proceed.
Ms. Pinsel, you heard some testimony from Ms. Kidd about a water main break. Can you briefly describe how Hillcrest responded to that and what was done?
Yes. It's been ongoing. We've been working with the town, with Delshon and the water department every step of the way. We were called by a resident around 69 Fairview, which is that area by the trash, which is the ice that she was showing in the photo of a large water pooling, thinking it might be a break. We've been working on this pretty much daily since Friday. Everyone has water. There were a couple of brief intermissions of water on Friday evening and Sunday evening while the town and our vendor tried to make, dig and find repairs. Aside from that, the water has been turned on. I am aware of one resident who came to me. I don't know who might have said something to Casey, but one resident who came to us who had an issue that his pipe had frozen inside his house. That's been resolved, and we're working individually with him on that. So I'm fully aware of the situation. As soon as we were notified about the ice, probably between the photo being taken and our response, we came out. We have been sanding and salting that area, and we've also chipped the ice away as well again today. So we are all over it and monitoring that situation. In terms of the water break situation. Again, we're not sure if it's groundwater or water break, and this is something that we're dealing with the town and water department, Board of Health, and our vendor.
And you heard some testimonies about the snow removal. Can you please indicate what Hillcrest has regarding snow removal and some of the concerns that Ms. Kidd has?
I just wish, bring it to our attention. That's what I would say, so that I can respond. But basically, we have an all-inclusive contract with a snow removal contractor. It's third party. I did not receive a single complaint from anyone at the park. However, that doesn't mean, folks don't have an opinion on it. And I'd certainly like to hear that so we can address it. But in my experience in property management, and from what I heard from the vendor and speaking to them, there were vehicles parked in all of these parking areas, and when they came through, they couldn't clear the driveways because there were cars there. They will come back tomorrow this time around, and I'll send a note out to everybody with some additional protocols, but, as far as timing of moving vehicles so we can get into the driveways, but that's all I'm aware of.
And then you also heard some testimony from Ms. Kidd that she has no mechanism to contact either the community manager or a regional manager or Hillcrest as a whole corporate offices. Is that an accurate statement?
No, until last week, Albert was there Monday through Friday every single day, personal and work cell phone and office phone line. We became aware of a problem with the office phone line over the weekend. We have Comcast working on it. So in the meantime, we sent an email to the residents with a emergency line and contact direct to me and my district manager, as well as posted the office door with our contact information, phone and email, which we're monitoring 24 hours a day.
Madam Chairman, I don't think I have any further questions for Ms. Pincinel. If the board has any questions, she's happy to respond.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question, please? We have an unusual situation with delays in the hearing, which, if the rent increase is proposed, will create a large retroactive situation. How does the park owner propose to deal with the retroactive rents?
Well, Attorney O'Donnell had indicated that the petition wasn't filed timely. It actually was filed timely. It was filed in April of 2020 for the rent increase that's normally heard in the month of May, sometimes June the latest. So my client their position is that they're entitled to a retroactive rent increase, but they're happy to work with residents and recapture over the next 6 or 12 months, whatever the board feels comfortable with, to work with residents to recapture that rent increase.
So you'd be willing to give a 12-month period to recapture the retroactive if the board was so inclined?
Yes, absolutely. And Attorney Clifford, there's also some programs that are out there right now for people that have been affected for COVID that can't pay the rent and assist the rent. There's a lot of programs that may be able to assist the residents if they apply for funds, if they can't meet the rent increase moving forward or the rent itself. So there's programs out there that my client has been working with other residents to recapture that as well. They're happy to provide that information to the residents that would assist them also with this retroactive increase.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have nothing further.
If I may speak just for one moment to clarify something for the record.
Yes.
I just want to clarify that my position of what I stated before was not that Attorney Laverty or Hillcrest was late in putting their petition in for the rent increase, but rather that the board has 30 days after receiving such a petition to hold hearing. It is understandable given COVID and the limitations that didn't happen, but I just want to state for the record to make sure we're all clear and on the same page about that. Thank you.
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm a resident and I was wondering if I could actually speak about something.
Sure. Can you state your name and your address?
Sure. My name is Elizabeth Pelrine and my address is 6 Alpine Street in Rockland, Massachusetts. And I actually have a question for Jennifer about access and the phone number for the residents. Because I actually, during this past summer, there was a water main break and I didn't have any information. And so I had gone on to the only thing I could think of after contacting my neighbors is to go on to the website for Hillcrest. And the phone number that's listed on the portal, I actually called again today to confirm if I could speak with anyone. And the phone number 855-676-9497 rings. It lists that I've contacted them after hours for Hillcrest from 9 to 5. It forwards me to a voicemail, which tells me it's full. And this is the same number, which I actually have on my telephone from back in, I believe it was July or August, that it's been the same phone number that I contacted, and I was never able to get through to anyone. And I'm actually just wondering if that's the same number that they provided, if they provided a different phone number.
Hi, Mrs. Pelrine. I apologize. I was trying to get off mute. This is Jennifer. So as I was stating a little bit earlier, you might not have been on, we are experiencing problems currently with the office phone number. So that's the number you're talking about where it's listed on our website. And that will go back on. We had Comcast out here Wednesday. We're trying to find out what the problem is. So we have a different emergency number in the interim that's posted on the door and that we had emailed out. It sounds like you didn't get that. I'm just looking that up right now. Bear with me.
And I also have a question too about the snow plowing, because both my husband and I work early in the morning. And so I report for work at 6. I'm currently working remotely 80% of the time, but there is one day where I have to leave between 4 and 5 in the morning. And this past Tuesday, my husband left at 3:30 or 3:40, and it was the road was not plowed, and it was difficult actually driving on the road. And so I know this has been a problem in the past, and like the plowing, I generally will shovel my entire driveway. I also shovel my parking space, and when the plow which is the third party vendor, there have been times that I've been late for work because they haven't plowed. And so I understand that it's winter time and stuff, but I was just trying to find out what accommodations, if there's a schedule that the plowing
Yeah.
company has to adhere to.
Well, let me give you first the phone number you were looking for.
Okay.
And again, this is on the door as well. It's 508-728-8498. And we'll update you when we go back to the office number. I apologize again. We're working through this. As far as the snow removal, so this is the biggest storm we've had in a little while. And during the course of the active snow, the goal would just be to keep the roadways clear. And obviously, depending on how hard that's snowing and you know how quick it's accumulating, it's very difficult to say a time in which they would come, you know. But hearing that you're saying it was 3:34 a.m., was it still snowing, or it looked like they hadn't been out yet at all?
I'm not sure because I'm sleeping, but it
Okay.
didn't. The roads were covered.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely, you know, speak to the vendor. It depends on. It's kind of hard for me to go back, but depending on what the conditions were at the time, like I said, if it's snowing fast, they're gonna come through as much as they can to keep the main roads clear, and then usually after the fact come back and give everything another better cleaning. But I value any feedback, so I hear what you're saying, and I can certainly speak to the vendor just to make sure that they're following those protocols. And again, with regards to moving the cars, you know, typically that would be after the storm the next day. And I will circle back with the vendor on that, because what we'll need to do is kind of alert everybody, you know, when they're coming so you can move your cars. And we'll just make sure that we communicate that with you.
Thank you. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I have another question. So, as far as the amenity, Hillcrest on the website is listed as an all ages park. And so one of the amenities that we have is the park for children. And we are a community that does have children. Is there anything as far as an idea to replace that?
I'm actually looking at all options. So based on codes that are currently in place, we can't put a large playground there, but we're looking at what we can put there. So something will be coming. I'm just looking into what is allowable for the space that is available.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have anything further?
I'd like to say something if that's okay.
Who is this?
I live at 10 Alpine Street in Rockland.
And your name?
Jamie Blakely.
Okay.
I'd like to say, you know, when they do plow the roads, they actually plow me in and I'm disabled. So like when the plow comes down from the top of the hill and any snow that they're bringing down from the entrance down my way gets actually pushed into my driveway. And I know that many times over the years, I've lived there for 9 years. So over the years, I've learned that there was like at least 4 feet of snow for me to shovel myself out. And only if they angled the plow a different way, it would probably make it easier for me to get out of my house.
But did you say your first name was Jean? I didn't hear it right. Was it Jean Blakely? Is that
Me, Jamie.
Okay. Jane, I'm sorry. Jane, can I have your phone number? I'd be happy to give you a call so we can meet with the snowplow contractor and show them the area and what you're looking at.
My phone number is 617.
Yep.
755 2003.
755?
Yep, 755-2003.
Okay, it's Jennifer, and I'll give you a call, okay, because I'd like to get him to see what you're talking about so we can make sure we can take care of that for you.
Anybody else? Okay, if there's nothing further, I would like to entertain a motion. I'd like to preface it by saying that this has been a much more productive meeting, and that it sounds like the lines of communication are open, and that people are willing to work together. There's things that are outside of people's control. As far as the water main break, Plain Street had an incredible water main break, and we were out of service for 3 days. So things happen, and I'm comfortable in hearing that there's opportunities that are arising from this, that people are now more accessible to be approached on different issues as far as the park is concerned. So I'm going to entertain a motion that we approve the increase for Hillcrest, and I believe it was 2.1%, for the fiscal year, the July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. And I would also like to entertain and add the caveat that to have it be retroactive, but have the park owners do as Mr. Laverty is intending to do, in that work with people over the 12-month period, so the increase is not excessive to any one particular resident. So I'm going to make a motion to approve with that caveat, and do I have a second?
I second the motion. This is Kim.
Kim seconds the motion. Do I have, I need Debbie and Diane. Casey has recused herself.
I approve it.
Yay or nay? Diane
I
approves,
approve.
and Debbie approves. That's unanimous. The 2.1 increase will go into effect and be retroactive to July 1st, with the intention that you will work that overburden on anyone. I trust Attorney Laverty's judgment that they will in fact do that over the 12-month period, and I'm actually very pleased that it sounds like things, we keep hearing, there's always problems everywhere no matter where you are, but at least, yeah, I feel better about it, and I think the board feels better about the fact that it's moving in the right direction. So with that, I will make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So that convenes the Rent Control Board for February 4th, 2021.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.